everyone. Today we will be discussing a brief overview of the Individualized Education Program process, or otherwise known as the IEP process. And within this video, we'll be just discussing a brief overview of the referral, evaluation, eligibility process, and the components of the IEP, as well as your role and your child's role within the IEP process. To start off, for the referral process, the referral process can be completed by a teacher, school psychologist, or you, the parent. In the case that your child is exhibiting signs or symptoms of any developmental delays in reading, math, or any subject area, or any behavioral problems as well. Now, once the referral is signed and consented by the parent, it will then be submitted to the teacher, the school psychologist, or the principal to be reviewed and approved. And once the school receives the referral, they have 15 days to approve it and get it back to you. And once it is approved and given to you, the parent has 15 days to sign and approve of this plan to go ahead and move forward with evaluation. Going on to evaluation, the school district is required to administer any assessments or tests needed to determine any diagnoses or any tests that will determine whether your child has a disability. And once this evaluation is done, it'll determine if the child is eligible to receive any special education or related services. And the eligibility is determined by whether or not your child has one or more, or not restricted to, the 13 disabilities the IDEA defines. Once your child completes the eligibility process and is deemed eligible for special education or related services, you will then go ahead with the school and its members and continue with the IEP process. The IEP process and the development of the IEP itself contains many components. And when discussing the IEP, you want to, along with the other members, such as the general education teacher, the special education teacher, school psychologist, the principal, and any other member deemed necessary, to go over any annual goals that you would like the child to achieve by the end of the year. And this can be something such as you would like your child to read at the reading level that the child is currently in. Then you can look for the IEP to include any achievement or functional performance levels that your child is currently at. And this is something you can discuss with and monitor with the respective teachers that your child has. And then when you complete and discuss the annual goals, you want to have a thorough description within the IEP of how those annual goals will be met and measured. They need to be measurable. So this can, when I say measurable, I mean by test or by assessment to determine if your child is anywhere near completing those goals or getting close to completing those goals. It's really important. The IEP will also include any modifications or support necessary that your child will need. And this can be anything such as modifying an assignment or shortening an assignment to fit the needs of your child. And this can include a variety of things, and this is also, it can be determined by you and a collaboration with the teachers as well, and this requires a great amount of team effort. Within the IEP, you can also find whether or not the child will be removed from the general education classroom and will not participate with students who do not have a disability. So this just means if the child were to be pulled out for any related services such as occupational therapy or a break from the room or any other resource room that the child may need to go to, it's included in the IEP, and it states for how long the child will be out of the room. Then also in the IEP, you want to include when these services and will be started and for how long and when throughout the year. This is extremely important because, of course, everyone wants to be on the same page of when you need to implement this IEP and for how long and for how many minutes throughout the day your child should be receiving support, and so on. Also, the IEP should also include any accommodations that the child will need during any assessments or any state tests. So this could include the child needing to be in another room for taking a test, or any extra time that the child may need for completion of an assignment. And that's about it for the components of the IEP. And last but not least, your involvement as well as your child involvements within the IEP process. Now, of course, I went over during the IEP process what components it takes, and a lot of that includes parent input. So any kind of input you have, such as what behaviors your child displays when doing a certain task, or what difficulties or what struggles your child has, should be expressed within the meeting, so that the teachers are aware of this and can take note of this and also consider this when making decisions. Your input is extremely important, and it provides so much insight for what the teachers don't see within the classroom on a daily basis. You know your child best, and you know what methods and what techniques will work for your child and will be successful for your child achieving academic goals. And as for the child can be present during the IEP meeting if you would like, or if the teacher would like. It can be for 5 minutes, it can be for the whole meeting. This is all dependent on what the parent will want. And usually by the time the child approaches around the age of 13, if the IEP is still in place, the child would probably be present during the meeting, just to include any input about what will benefit him or her, and say, this works best for me in these conditions and during this time frame. And the child can be really helpful at this age, especially when they're going through a big transition, in communicating with the parent and the teachers on what will be best for them. And that about concludes a brief overview of the IEP process. I appreciate your time in listening to me and taking the time to listen to my description of the IEP process. And I hope everyone has a great day.